This film is purely fictional. Please do not imitate it. Your like and subscribe are the motivation for me to update. Chapter 903. Webb is a chosen one of South City. He originally lived in District 17 of World 9, following Xiao Anran. Later, naturally, he followed Xiao Anran to join South City. Webb's abilities were average, and he had no ambitions of conquering the world. He was a relatively inactive individual. After arriving in the primordial world, he often assisted suzerain and others in handling various chores and trivial matters in the city. Compared to hunting ferocious beasts and engaging in combat, this was something he was more adept at, and he enjoyed it. Later, Huang Yuanming approached Webb and asked him to help manage his shop, and Webb readily agreed. 2 weeks ago, Huang Yuanming opened a bathhouse in Nonglin City. Running a successful shop is no easy task. They first needed to establish good relationships with the influential people in Nonglin City, discuss profit sharing, run advertisements, recruit staff, train technicians, and so on. Huang Yuanming couldn't do these things himself, so naturally, he had to hand them over to Webb. After receiving the news, Webb finished his various chores and rushed to Nonglin City to begin various social engagements. Nonglin City, City Lord's Mansion. Lord, our bath center will need your continued care from now on. Webb raised a glass of wine and laughed heartily. Here, this glass of wine is a toast to our wise and mighty Lord. With a gulp, Webb downed the entire glass. Ha ha ha, Lord Webb, that's not true. It's our honor to have you open a shop in Nonglin City. The Lord of Nonglin City also raised a glass of wine and emptied it. Come, let's all toast Lord Webb. Everyone at the table rose to their feet. They were all powerful and influential figures in Nonglin City. A portion of Huang Yuanming's bathhouse profits would go into these individuals' pockets, and in return, they would help advertise the bathhouse, provide security, maintain order, and so on. In reality, with South City's combat capabilities, they could completely ignore these individuals and pocket all the profits. But as the old saying goes, a powerful dragon cannot overpower a local snake. Making money on someone else's territory, giving them a little sweetness would benefit everyone and save a lot of trouble. Just as everyone was toasting, a sudden explosion sounded from afar. What's that sound? The Nonglin City Lord frowned and signaled his men to investigate immediately. Webb looked in the direction of the sound, a bad premonition rising in his heart. Sure enough, within half a minute, a city defense soldier came running over in a panic. Lord, this is terrible. The Huang family bath center has been vandalized. Everyone present was shocked, and all eyes instinctively turned to Webb. Bang! Webb smashed his wine glass to pieces with a bang, turned to the city lord, and said coldly, Lord, the security in Nonglin City seems to be in a bad state. The city lord's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly said, Lord Webb, there's no rush. I will definitely give you an explanation for this matter. Webb snorted coldly, saying no more, and quickly flew towards the bath center. Which little thief is so desperate? He dares to vandalize the property of the chosen one. The city lord of Nonglin City's face was ashen. Come on, let's go and take a look. Nonglin City, the ruins of the Huang family bath center. The city lord and his companions stared at the ruins before them, their scalps tingling. Oh my god! Who did this? I heard that Mr. Huang, the owner of the Huang family bath center, is a level 45 expert. What if he takes his anger out on us? How can we withstand his wrath? Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and save them. Yes. Save the technicians first. As long as they're still here, we can reopen the foot massage parlor tonight. What's the biggest shortage these days? The biggest shortage is skilled talent. Training a new batch of skilled technicians would take a lot of time. As for the storefront, that's a minor issue. Everyone present was a prominent figure in Nonglin City. Who didn't have some property? At worst, Huang Yuanming could be compensated with a few buildings. If that doesn't work, a whole street would be fine. Instantly, all the major families in Nonglin City frantically mobilized manpower for the rescue effort. Among the ruins, Webb arrived earlier than the city lord and his companions. He immediately spotted 2 people standing amidst the rubble. They were the ones who demolished the bathhouse? They're still not leaving after it's been demolished. How dare you? Webb sneered. He was about to attack when he froze, taking in the appearance of one of the men. This seems to be... He dropped from the air and walked toward Xiao Luo. Luo Gu. Is it really you? Xiao Luo glanced at Webb and nodded slightly. Luo Gu, why are you in Nonglin City? Webb asked, looking at another figure standing in the ruins. This man had a sharp, angular face, a dashing demeanor, and a deep gaze. He was a truly exceptionally handsome man. "Who is this?" Webb asked, puzzled. "Mud Howl." Nafeng smiled coolly. "I'm Yen Zhu." At this moment, Nafeng still retained the same appearance as the yellow-haired man he had seen in Wukong City and hadn't changed back. Xiao Luo knew he was Nafeng, but the others couldn't recognize him. "How's it going? Did you find him?" Xiao Luo asked. Nanfeng's face was solemn, and he nodded. "There are too many people here. Let's talk somewhere else." With that, Nafeng vanished from the scene with a swish. "Webb, I leave things here to you," Xiao Luo said to Webb. "There's a yellow-haired man who's fainted over there. When he wakes up, give him a lifetime 10% discount card. Make sure he stays here and washes his feet every day." "Understood." Although he didn't understand why he had to do this, Webb took careful note. Xiao Luo nodded, and like Nafeng, he left the place in a flash. Webb looked at the ruins, then at the city lord and others flying behind him, wondering whether he should give these guys a good deal. Outside Nonlin City, Nafeng had already removed his disguise and returned to his true self. Xiao Luo flashed before Nafeng, chuckling. "Yen Zhu's face is still more handsome." "You're kidding." "That's Yen Zhu's face, a face that can turn nouns into adjectives. It's bound to be handsome." Nafeng conjured a mirror, looked at himself, and murmured, "Although I can't compare to Yen Zhu, I, Nan, am still incredibly handsome, okay?" "This is incredibly narcissistic." Xiao Luo muttered to himself. "Have you found the Lord of the Underworld?" Xiao Luo returned to the point, his face serious. Speaking of the Lord of the Underworld, Nafeng put away the mirror with a strange expression. "No, but I know how he escaped from us, and I know his identity." "Oh! You know his identity?" Xiao Luo raised an eyebrow. "Who is he?" Nafeng didn't answer directly, but said, "Do you know how he escaped just now?" Xiao Luo recalled and shook his head slightly. The Lord of the Underworld disappeared so quickly that even Xiao Luo couldn't see clearly. Nafeng pointed at the shadow on the ground and said helplessly, "He went into the shadow." "Got into the shadow?" Xiao Luo's heart trembled, a little surprised. "He is the shadow of night?" Chapter 904. Back in the land of divine pets, Long Woody contracted an S-rank pet, Night Shadow. Night Shadow was actually quite powerful, even more formidable than most chosen ones. For a long time, Night Shadow served as Dragon City's guardian beast. The chosen ones of Dragon City would feed it with skills and techniques, allowing it to learn more. Living up to expectations, Night Shadow rapidly improved its strength, surpassing most of the chosen ones. Any chosen one who possessed a pet like Night Shadow would see their strength rise several notches. Unfortunately, Night Shadow Master was Long Woody. Night Shadow's talent and potential pale in comparison to Long Woody's. No matter how rapidly its strength improved, it could never keep up with Long Woody. The gap between them widened until Night Shadow could no longer see Long Woody's back. 18 years ago, after Long Woody's fall, Shadow of the Night left Dragon City and disappeared. Over the years, Dragon City's chosen ones have searched far and wide, yet have found no trace of Shadow of the Night. It was as if Dragon City's guardian beast had vanished from the face of the earth. No one could have imagined that the so-called Lord of the Underworld was actually Shadow of the Night. It's completely black, and its steps are silent. Xiao Luo muttered softly, recalling Huang Mao's description of the Lord of the Underworld. Such an obvious clue, I should have thought of it long ago. We just didn't think about it that way, Nafeng continued. Who could have imagined that Long Woody's pet would kill Long Woody's child? Yes, Long Woody's pet. Why would he kill Long Woody's child? For the power within Long Yuan that originally belonged to Long Woody? Or does Shadow of the Night also want to resurrect Long Woody? Where did it go? Xiao Luo said. Go kill it first. Keep it contained. Don't let it get close to little Long Yuan. Xiao Luo had many theories about the true identity of the Underworld Lord. But no matter who it was, even if it was the chosen one of Nancheng or Longcheng, Xiao Luo would kill it without hesitation. But the Underworld Lord was Long Woody's pet. This made Xiao Luo hesitate. To kill or not to kill? Hearing Xiao Luo's question, Nafeng said slightly embarrassedly, it ran away, and I can't find it. You can't find it? Xiao Luo wondered. Didn't you say your tracking ability was at the 99th floor? Nafeng was even more embarrassed, but its escape ability just now has reached the 100th floor. For over a week, Nafeng had been able to discern the Underworld Lord's whereabouts through watching the past. During this time, no matter whether Night Shadow circled, fainted, or transformed into someone else, no matter how strong its anti-detection capabilities were, it could not escape Nanfeng's eyes. Nafeng saw it all. But this time was different. Night Shadow slipped into the shadows. Even under light, there are shadows. If you observe carefully, the shadow beneath your feet might connect to any corner of the world. Night Shadow slipped into the shadows from Agricultural and Forestry City, but it could potentially emerge from Black Crow City tens of thousands of kilometers away. Actually, the Night Shadow move wasn't particularly powerful, because it emanated faint magical fluctuations while moving in the shadows. Nafong could easily snatch it out with his strength. The problem was, Night Shadow was coated with a sensor-blocking coating, completely blocking the faint magical fluctuations it emitted as it moved. Combined, Night Shadow was truly insidious. Not even Nafong could see where it had gone. Xiao Luo's face darkened slightly. Even if it were Long Wudi's pet, I wouldn't allow it to harm little Long Yuan. It doesn't have that ability, Nafong said. We just found out. It's barely level 46. That level of strength wouldn't be enough to instantly kill Long Yuan. As long as it can't, we have plenty of time to get there. This wasn't to say that a level 46 Night Shadow was weak, but rather that Nafong and his group were incredibly strong. Even in this era of resurgent spiritual energy and immensely abundant magical power, level 46 still ranks among the world's most powerful. Even among the chosen, few can reach it. After Long Wudi's fall, Night Shadow was able to break through to level 46, proving his terrifying potential and worthy of being an S rank. But it was useless. The energy within Long Yuan's body was too vast. A level 46 Night Shadow could never kill Long Yuan instantly with a single strike. If it couldn't kill him, then attacking would be a trap. What? You said it could escape by burrowing into the shadows? No. Nafong hadn't known that the Underworld Lord was Night Shadow, and hadn't anticipated this potential, which was why it escaped. Next time we meet, Nafong will simply pause time. Shadow of the Night, you Night Shadow, run off and see? So what do we do now? Xiao Luo asked. We alerted the enemy this time. Shadow of the Night is on guard. Finding it again won't be so easy. Let me think about it. Nafong pondered for a moment and said, You continue to keep an eye on Huamao here. I suspect it might come back for Huamao. Okay. Xiao Luo nodded and asked, What about you? I'm going to Wukong City. I feel like I missed some clues, Nafong pondered. Also, if anyone asks about me, just say I'm in seclusion. Although he didn't know why, Xiao Luo nodded in agreement. The two parted ways outside Nonglin City. Xiao Luo continued to follow Huamao, while Nafong disappeared and returned to Wukong City. Before leaving, Nanfeng's eyes pierced the void, passing through the mountains and forests, and gazed into the Sun and Moon Mountains. Deep in the mountains, Long Yuan and Di Fan discovered a long ruin and were excitedly exploring it. Wang Yuanming's special forces, the Flying Generals, were secretly protecting the two and eliminating any hidden threats. Nafong glanced around, but found no trace of the Lord of the Underworld. The Shadow of Night should know that as long as I, Xiao Luo, and Xiaonan survive, it can't steal the power from Long Yuan, Nafong murmured softly. Then what is it going to do? What is it planning? What's the point of sending people to hunt down Long Yuan? If it can't kill Long Yuan itself, how can it expect those petty thieves in their early 40s to do the same? For a moment, Nafong couldn't fathom the Shadow of Night's intentions. It seemed that no matter what it did, it was a futile effort. Nafong shook his head, suppressed his doubts, and flew towards Wukong City. In a dark corner of the Sun and Moon Mountains, the Shadow of Night emerged from the shadows. It casually broke off a branch and wrote a few words on the ground. South Wind in Agricultural and Forestry City. After writing, it retreated back into the shadows and disappeared into the darkness. Chapter 905. Dragon Calendar Year 19, December 28th. After parting ways with Xiao Luo, Nafong returned to Wukong City. More than 10 days ago, at the East Inn in Wukong City, Nafong found someone claiming to be the Underworld Lord. It was he who had issued the mission to hunt down Long Yuan. However, because the Underworld Lord was too weak, Nafong immediately recognized him as a fake and ignored him. Looking back now, there were actually quite a few suspicious points about the fake Underworld Lord. The fake Underworld Lord said that a black-robed figure had approached him and entrusted him with a mission to hunt down Long Yuan. However, as Nafong knew, the Underworld Lord had many experts under his command, such as the trio of water-shaped phantoms who had initially kidnapped Long Yuan, the assassin who had pursued Gao Heng, and the never-seen Underworld Bird. The Underworld Lord possesses so many powerful subordinates. Why wouldn't he use them? Instead, he's issuing missions to various cities, gathering a mob to hunt down Long Yuan and put Dragon City on guard. This doesn't make sense. Is it possible that the mission to hunt down Long Yuan wasn't actually issued by Shadow of Night? Nanfeng pondered. Isn't issuing this mission effective except for putting Dragon City on high alert? Shadow of Night isn't that foolish. Besides Shadow of Night, who else wants to kill Long Yuan? Nanfeng could only find the fake underworld lord to answer this question. Over Wukong City. Nanfeng, cloaked in midair, released his divine sense, instantly scanning the entire city. In Wukong City, 7 or 8 of Dragon City's chosen ones were taking turns tracking the nameless fake underworld lord. Nanfeng quietly approached the 2 Dragon City chosen ones, who were chatting. One of them said, "It's almost there. Just 2 more days of surveillance, and we can have our day off." The other one said, "Tell me, who will be meeting him the day after tomorrow? Will it be the underworld lord himself, or one of his subordinates? Who cares? We just need to follow this clue and investigate further. One day, we catch the underworld lord." That makes sense. Remember, if you do see the underworld lord, don't act rashly. We're no match for him. Huh? What if the underworld lord escapes? No, I already reported it. Flying Eagle, Mad Wolf, and the others will be here early tomorrow morning. Wouldn't that little underworld lord be easy to capture? Nanfeng stood nearby and eavesdropped for a while, gaining a general understanding of the situation. The fake underworld lord will be meeting someone the day after tomorrow, and the people of Dragon City suspect that the person he's meeting with is the real underworld lord. Dragon City was fully prepared, waiting for the true underworld lord to reveal himself, ready to capture or kill him on the spot. The one contacting the fake underworld lord definitely wasn't Night Shadow, Nanfeng thought to himself. It now appeared that there was a third party intent on killing Long Yuan. This third party was issuing missions everywhere to hunt down Long Yuan, even impersonating the underworld lord, hoping to deflect the blame. But the real underworld lord was too shadowy, appearing and disappearing without a trace. He could not only block magical fluctuations, but also disappear into shadows. Dragon City's intelligence personnel were unable to find the real underworld lord, but instead uncovered the third party. Let me think. Nanfeng connected all the recent events in his mind, gradually clarifying his thoughts. Besides Shadow of the Night, there's another force that wants to kill Long Yuan. A third-party force impersonating the Lord of the Underworld and issuing missions everywhere has caught Shadow of the Night's attention. So, Shadow of the Night personally came to Wukong City to see who was impersonating him. Maybe he went to Huamao to take advantage of the situation and use this third party to accomplish his own plan. Unfortunately, I, Nan, know the future and waited for Shadow of the Night in Wukong City for over a month. Though I ultimately let him escape. What does Shadow of the Night want? And who is that third party? Forget it. Overthinking is a headache. Let's just wait and see. Anyway, the fake Lord of the Underworld will rendezvous with the people behind him in 2 days, so Nanfeng might as well wait here for 2 days. As for Long Yuan, there's no need for Nanfeng to worry. At least until January 13th, Long Yuan will be absolutely safe. Because Nanfeng has been there on January 13th of the following year, and knows what will happen. If Long Yuan died before January 13th, it would mean the future could be changed. If the future can be changed, then history can be changed, which would get Nanfeng even less to worry about. At worst, they could just revise history and bring Long Yuan back to life. Okay, then I wait here for 2 days. Nanfeng found a sheltered corner, yawned, and curled up in it, snoring soundly. Meanwhile, the people in the handsome guy's group were chatting animatedly. Huang Yuanming, there's a dog. There's a dog, guys. My newly opened foot massage parlor in Nonglin City was demolished by some dogs. Shenpan, who tore it down? Do you want me to help you teach him a lesson? Huang Yuanming, I just don't know who did it, and it's pissing me off. Su Zuran, isn't Xiao Luo in Nonglin City? Ask him. Huang Yuanming, I asked, but Luo ignored me. Damn. Su Ming at Shenpan, didn't you tell me the other day you introduced me to a young lady? Where's she? Shenpan, come to Wuming City. I introduce you to a close friend of Mumu's, who just met. She's beautiful and has a sweet voice. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. Su Ming, how's her figure? Shenpan, excellent. Huang Yuanming, not my friend. Are you listening to me? Su Ming, teleportation array. Open it, I'm coming. Wu Yuansheng, damn you bastard. Shenpan, ask your wife to introduce me to someone too. Shenpan, come on, come to Wuming City too, there are so many beautiful women here. Huang Yuanming, hello? Can anyone see my message? Shenpan at Huang Yuanming, do you want to come over? I introduce you to someone too. Huang Yuanming, no, I already have someone in mind. Shen Pan, Su Ming, Wu Yuansheng, Su Zuran, Yu Ran, Su Yihan, Yun Fei, Xiao Luo, ? Huang Yuanming, Brother Luo, I knew you were hiding. Tell me, who demolished my shop? Xiao Luo, zzz. Night fell quickly, and this peaceful day was about to end. A spiritual consciousness slowly drifted over the sun and moon mountains, scanning the area with a cold gaze. In an abandoned ruin, the consciousness spotted Long Yuan and the others. Without stopping, the consciousness passed over them. In front of this divine sense, the young master of Dragon City was no different from the mountains, rivers, plants, insects, fish, birds, and beasts. He was insignificant. Suddenly, the divine sense stopped, locking onto a clearing in the forest. Written crookedly in Dragon Chinese characters on this clearing, Nanfeng is in Nonglin City. Huh? A gentle breeze blew, and a graceful figure appeared at the edge of the clearing. Suyana stared at the words for a few seconds, then a faint smile curled her lips. How interesting. Today, on a whim, I used my divine sense to survey the world, hoping to find Nanfeng. I didn't expect someone to have read my mind and leave this message here. How did this person know Nanfeng's whereabouts? And how did he know I happened to see these words? Are there still masters in this world? Chapter 906. Suyana transformed into a wisp of green smoke, drifting towards Nonglin City on the wind. She had become one with the world, invisible and formless, every move natural. Over Nonglin City, Suyana spotted Xiao Luo instantly. Xiao Luo is here. Suyana pondered. It seems the words didn't deceive me. Nanfeng might really be here. Her spiritual sense swept across the city, but she found no trace of Nanfeng. Has he left? Or has he never been here at all? The moon hung high in the sky. It was late at night, and many civilians in Nonglin City had already fallen asleep. Webb had been busy with the foot massage parlor for the past 2 days, constantly attending various social events. After finally seeing off another group of dignitaries, Webb yawned and muttered, "Oh my god, running around all day is so exhausting. How about a nap?" Webb thought to himself as he slumped over the table and drifted off to sleep. He had a dream. In his dream, Webb stood in a foot massage parlor that lay in ruins. Not far in front of him stood 2 men. One was Xiao Luo, the other an unnamed, strikingly handsome man. Suyana approached from behind Webb, looked at the unnamed man, and chuckled, "Nanfeng, you're here after all." Nanfeng slowly turned his head, raised an eyebrow, and said, "Suyana?" As he spoke, Nanfeng looked around and suddenly realized something. "You came into my dream?" Suyana shook her head slightly and pointed at Webb. "No, I entered his dream." She had found Nanfeng in Webb's dream. In reality, Suyana's original intention was simply to peer into Webb's memories and confirm whether Nanfeng had ever been to Nonglin City. Normally, the Nanfeng in Webb's dream was merely a projection, unable to communicate. But the current situation was clearly abnormal. What did this mean? It meant that Nanfeng was also asleep at this very moment. Suyana was able to invoke the power of the Onira to connect the two's dreams and allow them to converse. "Are you sleeping?" Suyana herself was a little incredulous. "With your current strength, you still need to sleep? That's incredible." "Not sleeping is incredible." Nanfeng yawned. "Speaking of incredible, your ability is truly incredible. You could catch me even sleeping." Suyana folded her arms over her chest and whispered, "Forget it, there's no point in discussing this. When will you break through?" Nanfeng glanced at her. "Wait a little longer, there's no rush." "Suyana, I'm anxious." "Nanfeng, why are you anxious? We waited for over 100,000 years. What's a few days away?" Suyana fell silent. Nanfeng's words seemed to make some sense. "Then I give you another month," Suyana said. "If you still haven't broken through in a month, I control Xiao Luo to kill you. Then, Xiao Luo will absorb your energy and break through to level 48. Nanfeng shrugged nonchalantly. "Xiao Luo's curse of the creator god has been lifted. Even if he kills me, he can't absorb my energy." Suyana's face turned pale. But I promise you, I break through within a month," Nanfeng said sternly. "A month is more than enough time." Hearing this, Suyana's expression brightened slightly. "I come see you again in a month." Suyana turned and left the dream. At the same time, Nanfeng, far away in Wukong City, suddenly opened his eyes. "I can't even sleep peacefully," Nanfeng muttered softly. He yawned and opened his dashboard to check the time. There were still over 30 hours, until the fake lord of the underworld and the people behind him would meet. That was such a long wait. How about jumping directly into the river of time and fast-forwarding to 30 hours later? Nanfeng thought. But after careful consideration, he decided against it. What if something unexpected happened during those 30 hours? Would he have to swim back? That would be too much trouble. Besides, Nanfeng's control over the river of time wasn't yet perfect enough to allow him to go wherever he pleased. It would be better to wait patiently. 30 hours isn't a long time, after all. Some authors often take 2 or 3 days off from updating. Huh? So many messages in the group? Look what they're talking about. Nanfeng opened the handsome guy's group and found Su Ming and the others discussing what delicious food there is in Nameless City. Nameless City? Isn't that right next door to me? Over 100 kilometers northwest of Yukong City is Nameless City. The two cities are so close that Nanfeng could easily yawn and make it there. But what are these guys doing in Nameless City? Nanfeng quickly flipped through the chat logs and understood the whole story. To pick up girls? Nanfeng looked disappointed. Huang Yuanming is doing his best to protect Long Yuan. Xiao Lu is meticulously monitoring Huang Mao. Su Zuran is diligently developing Nancheng. And yet, you're happily picking up girls. I can't stand it. I really can't stand it at all. I want to see just how beautiful the girls in Nameless City are, enough to spur your entire army into a full attack. A small piece of Nanfeng's tactical machine automatically detached, transforming into a bird. It remained an empty city, continuing to monitor every move within. He himself flashed and arrived at Nameless City 100 kilometers away. Time flashed back to over 10 minutes ago. In the ruins of the Sun and Moon Mountains. Long Yuan exerted force with both hands, prying open a massive stone door. Boom! The stone door opened with a loud noise, and rubble continued to fall from above. Some of the rubble seemed to have eyes, smashing towards Difan's head. Whoosh! Long Yuan blew out a breath, and suddenly, a howling wind swept the rubble away. Difan, come and see! There's a secret room here, Long Yuan said excitedly. It looks well preserved. Maybe we can find some treasures here. Difan also approached with curiosity. The two of them walked into the secret room, one after the other, looking around. This looks like a library. What's a library? It's a collection of books. Oh, it is indeed a collection of books. Let me take a look. Maybe I can find some information about the history of these ruins. Difan walked to a dusty bookshelf and carefully took down a book to begin flipping through. Outside the secret room, Huang Yuanming put his mobile phone to his ear and whispered, "Number 1, Number 2, report the situation." Soon, a voice came from the mobile phone. Number 1, no ferocious beasts found, over. Number 2, the chamber is poison-free, and no other threats have been detected. Over. Huang Yuanming, okay, that should be alright. Everyone, let's get some rest. The members of the Flying General Special Forces relaxed their guard slightly, and found a place to sit and rest. No one noticed that, from the shadows in the corner, a pair of eyes were observing them. Chapter 907. Shadow of the Night hid in the shadows. It only needed to remain still and quiet, making it difficult for even Nanfeng to detect it, let alone Huang Yuanming and the others. The shadow was its best camouflage. Shadow of the Night gazed into the secret room, where a shadow flickered. It knew that the owner of this shadow was Long Wudi's child, Long Yuan. Shadow of the Night had seen him from afar when Long Yuan was just born. Not long after, Shadow of the Night left Longcheng and embarked on the journey to resurrect Long Wudi alone. It always believed that Long Wudi was not dead. It had ample evidence to prove it. But no one believed it. Not even Lin Mimi believed it. Master has been waiting for us to rescue him, Shadow of the Night murmured in its heart. His body hasn't been destroyed, his soul has simply disappeared. Why do you all say he's dead? Shadow of the Night looked at Long Yuan's shadow. That figure bore a striking resemblance to Long Wudi. Over the years, it had traveled extensively, visiting perilous ancient ruins, entering the endless darkness of the eternal night sea, and venturing into the biting cold of the Arctic Ocean. It had even found the entrance to the land of divine pets and returned home. But it had never found Long Wudi's soul. Even if Long Wudi was truly dead, his soul shouldn't have vanished so completely. Furthermore, Shadow of the Night was 100% certain that Long Wudi was still alive. After ruling out all possibilities, Shadow of the Night suddenly came to its senses. It remembered that there was one place it hadn't searched. Within Long Yuan's body. It understood. This was Long Wudi's backup plan. Long Wudi, while passing on his power to Long Yuan, also sealed his soul within it, avoiding risk and awaiting rebirth. This must be it. Dark Shadow silently prayed. If not, then it was truly at its wit's end. The night was already deep. Dark Shadow looked toward Long Yuan in the secret chamber and took a small, gentle step forward. It felt the stone in its arms begin to warm slightly, indicating that this move carried a certain risk. Wait a little longer. Dark Shadow paused. After all these years of waiting, a little more time wouldn't hurt. Time ticked by, and Dark Shadow pondered how to approach Long Yuan. But the stone in its arms continued to heat, reminding it of the dangers. Until a moment, the stone suddenly cooled. Suyana and Na Feng are fighting. What a great opportunity! This thought occurred to Dark Shadow. It shifted within the shadows, calmly and steadily, inching closer to Long Yuan. It was slow, emitting no trace of magical energy. No one could detect Dark Shadow in this state. Not Long Yuan, not Huang Yuanming, not even Na Feng, who was sleeping soundly in Wukong City. Step by step, it approached Long Yuan's side. Today, Dark Shadow stared at Long Yuan's dantian, all its magical energy pouring frantically into its right hand. One strike was all it needed. With one strike, it could rip Long Yuan's dantian apart and release Long Wudi's soul. If handled correctly, Long Yuan could survive. That would be a win-win situation for everyone. Now, after charging, Night Shadow silently extended its hand. But at this critical moment, the stone in its arms began to heat up, instantly becoming incredibly hot. Danger! 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 Night Shadow pupils shrank sharply. Did Suyana and Na Feng finish their fight so quickly? Night Shadow quickly withdrew his hand, shocked. Who was instantly defeated by whom? Who instantly defeated whom? Or, did they not even fight at all? Night Shadow knew the best opportunity had passed. If it continued to attack, not only would it fail to save Long Wudi, but it would also be captured by Na Feng. Well, let's wait a little longer, Night Shadow sighed secretly. As this thought arose, the stone in its arms immediately cooled. Standing before Shadow of the Night, Long Yuan scratched his ears and muttered softly, "Why do I suddenly feel a chill?" He glanced around but saw nothing dangerous. Perhaps it was a gust of cold wind that had just blown. Long Yuan didn't dwell on it, but instead called to Di Fan, who was not far away. "Di Fan, come here. I don't recognize the words in this book. Can you help me translate it?" "Coming." Di Fan set down the book in his hands and quickly walked over. Shadow of the Night seized the opportunity and quietly slipped into Di Fan's shadow. Nameless City. Na Feng hovered in midair, his consciousness rapidly surging toward the Sun and Moon Mountains, silently observing Long Yuan and the others. Strange, just now, for a moment, I felt like Long Yuan was in danger. Na Feng peered into the various shadows in the ruins, but found no trace of Shadow of Night. It looked like nothing was amiss. But Na Feng was still worried. He opened his control panel and sent a message to Huang Yuanming. "Na Feng, hurry up and light up every corner of the ruins." Huang Yuanming had been chatting in the Cross-World chat channel when he received Na Feng's message, and he was startled. 3 exclamation marks. This was the first time he's seen Na Feng use 3 exclamation marks in one sentence. This must be urgent. "Brothers, hurry, light up the ruins." Huang Yuanming shouted at the top of his lungs. He pulled a round object from his backpack and tossed it into the air, inside the hair closet. Bang! The ball exploded in the air like a 5-kilowatt light bulb. It's a man-made flashbang. The members of the Flying General Special Forces followed suit, each unleashing several flashbangs. The bright light illuminated the entire ruins, dispelling shadows in every corner. Huang Yuanming, seeing this, quickly replied, "Nanshin, how is it? Is this bright enough?" Na Feng scanned the entire ruins with his spiritual sense, but still couldn't find the Shadow of Night. Am I just being overly sensitive? Na Feng pondered, then casually sent a message to Huang Yuanming. "Enough." "Huang Yuanming, what happened, Nanshin? Why did you suddenly ask me to illuminate the ruins?" Na Feng, "Nothing. I figured it was too dark inside, and reading wouldn't be good for those 2 kids' eyes." Huang Yuanming, question mark. "No, buddy, is this all this? Is it necessary to use 3 exclamation marks for such a trivial matter?" Na Feng, you continue to protect Long Yuan. I'm in seclusion. Huang Yuanming, wait, Nanshin, I have something to ask you. Na Feng, what is it? Huang Yuanming, my foot massage parlor was demolished. Do you know who did it? Na Feng, I've been in seclusion, how would I know this? Huang Yuanming, then ask Luo Ge for me. He was there. I asked him, but he wouldn't tell me. Na Feng, do your own thing. Log off. Na Feng quickly closed the interface. It was quick. He lowered his head, gazing down at the nameless city below him. He soon spotted Shenpan, Su Ming, and the others in the heart of the city. Let me see. What a beautiful young lady, to have attracted all of you here. Chapter 908. Compared to Yukon City, Wuming City's geographical location is far worse. Surrounded by mountains, it's difficult to enter and exit, and lacks any local specialties. In the early years, outsiders generally referred to the natives of Wuming City as people from the mountain valley. Later, the Zhao family fell, and the Yin family took over the city. The Yin family, in conjunction with the chosen ones of South City, blasted mountains and rocks, built bridges and roads, and, after more than half a year, finally established a close connection between Wuming City and the outside world. Gradually more and more people arrived in Wuming City, eventually settling in this slow-paced city. Now, Wuming City can barely be considered a first-tier city in the Haoyu Empire. You ask how to determine whether a city has reached the first tier. It's simple. See if Wang Yuanming's foot massage parlor has opened there. If it has, it's a first-tier city. If not, it's a second-tier, third-tier, or even fourth-tier city. After all, how can a city without even a foot massage parlor attract tourists? Without tourists, how can it become a first-tier city? It was late at night, but the downtown area of Nameless City was still bustling with activity. The food stalls surrounding the foot massage parlors were doing a brisk business. Guests sat in groups of 3 or 5, drinking wine, eating skewers, and discussing national affairs. It was a truly joyful occasion. The south wind drifted gently down from the sky, arriving at the entrance of Wu Fuji food stall. Outside the stall, at a large table, sat Shen Pan, Wang Mumu, Su Ming, Wu Yuansheng, Cheng Mo, and 3 young ladies whom Nanfeng didn't recognize. These 4 men and 4 women were laughing and chatting cheerfully, rolling dice and drinking. They didn't look like serious people. Are they Wang Mumu's best friends? Nanfeng glanced at the 3 young ladies he had never met before. They're not the chosen ones, so how did they become best friends so quickly? In fact, there's an invisible, yet inherent barrier between the chosen ones and the indigenous people. They can get along well, even become friends, but it's hard for them to become close friends or confidants. Who could trust a foreigner with their back? Thus, Nanfeng concluded that Wang Mumu and these 3 were merely superficial friends. Perhaps they only known each other for a few days, and hadn't even gotten to know each other well. Why did Shen Pan introduce them to Su Ming and the others? Nanfeng wondered. He leaped lightly onto a nearby rooftop. From this high vantage point, Nanfeng could see the entire street. This beauty has such a sweet mouth. Come on, let me have a drink. At the table, Cheng Mo laughed heartily and began to chug. The green-clad young lady sitting next to him, a shy expression on her face, gently tugged at Cheng Mo's arm and said in a coquettish voice, "Young master, that's enough. Drinking too much is bad for your health." "Ha, it's not bad," Cheng Mo said with a hearty laugh. "I'm so happy to meet a beauty like you today. When you're happy, you have to drink more." The green-clad young lady said delicately, "Young master." Cheng Mo touched the young lady's hand, a sly grin on his face. "Ha, beauty." The 2 of them were acting like a skit, and they were truly stunned by this skit. For a few seconds, Nanfeng wondered if Cheng Mo had been possessed by someone else. Is this still the same ethereal swordsman? The dinner continued. Faced with the 3 newly acquainted young ladies, Su Ming and Wu Yuansheng were noticeably reserved and uneasy. Cheng Mo, on the other hand, displayed his true romantic side, touching hands and pouring wine, mingling with the 3 young ladies. Ha, 2 little bees, flying into the flowers, flying moi. Grab your fingers, grab your fingers. Your name is 6 sixes? My name is 6 eights. Sir, you're drunk. It wasn't until late at night that everyone, still reluctant to leave, prepared to call it a day. In fact, only Cheng Mo and the 3 young ladies were still reluctant to leave. The others had already begun to leave. "Sir, please contact me later." "Sir, we're leaving. Don't miss us." "Sir, moi." Before leaving, the young lady in the green dress blew Cheng Mo a kiss. Cheng Mo chuckled drunkenly. Hee, beautiful lady kiss. Hee. The 3 young ladies laughed softly, their voices clear and melodious. "Master, let's go. Come find us." Laughing, the 3 of them departed like 3 butterflies, quickly disappearing at the end of the street. "Brother Cheng Mo had a great time tonight," Su Ming said sourly. 1 versus 3, awesome. Cheng Mo yawned. A moment ago, he was still drunk, but now his face was serious. "I told you, this kind of thing has to be done by me, you 2 can't." "Wow, you're so good?" Wu Yuansheng protested. "You've been drinking all night, and I don't see any progress." "Who said there's no progress?" Cheng Mo smiled smugly, spreading his palms. He held a small piece of paper in his hand, which read, See you tomorrow night at Qifeng Inn. Did you see that? Chang Yimou boasted. 3 beauties have asked me to spend the night with them tomorrow night. By the way, does anyone know where this Qifeng Inn is? Is there a swimming pool? Shen Pan lowered his head and pondered for 2 seconds before speaking. The Qifeng Inn is about 20 kilometers from the East City Gate, at the foot of a mountain. That road is the only way to Yukon City. Sometimes, when it gets dark, the caravans stop at the Qifeng Inn for a rest. Wu Yuansheng pondered. It sounds like a legitimate inn. It shouldn't be involved in murder and robbery, right? Could we have the wrong people? Of course, Wang Mumu suddenly said. Xiao He's death is definitely connected to those 3. Chang Yimou waved his hand. Well, no need to explain. I go to the Qifeng Inn tomorrow night, and everything will be clear. Everyone nodded, and without further discussion, they all walked into the nearby Longmen Inn. Nafeng stood on the roof, watching them enter the inn. It sounds like they're investigating someone's death? Nafeng tilted his head in thought. Xiao He? Who is Xiao He? Is she from our South City? He searched his mind for a moment, but couldn't recall such a person. Shaking his head, Nafeng glanced at a homeless man on the corner of the street and muttered, These guys are really careless, discussing things right here on the street. If I hadn't knocked this homeless man out, everyone would have overheard your plan. After the dinner, the homeless man pricked up his ears, trying to eavesdrop on Su Ming and the others' conversation. Thankfully, Nafeng spotted him in time and, with a chopping motion from midair, sent the homeless man to sleep. It's obvious that the 3 homeless girls are in cahoots. Did Shen Pan and the others offend some powerful faction? Oh no. Did some B-Force faction offend us in Nancheng? Nafeng opened his dashboard and sent a message to Su Zuren. What are Shen Pan and the others doing in Wuming City? Even though it was late at night, Su Zuren quickly replied, investigating the cause of Song He's death. Nafeng was silent for a moment, then asked, Who is Song He? Chapter 909. Song He, formerly the chosen one from Area 113 of World Number 9, later joined South City with Yi Piaoling. She and Wang Mumu had a close relationship. During the first few days of their journey, they looked out for each other, true besties with a life-or-death bond. After arriving in the primitive world, Song He differed from most female chosen ones. She chose not to stay behind, responsible for logistics, but resolutely joined the main force in hunting ferocious beasts and increasing her level. Her level remained mid-range, not strong, but not weak either. In this perilous world, only continuous improvement in strength could bring Song He a sense of security. However, over time, South City's influence grew. This once incredibly dangerous primitive world no longer seemed so dangerous. Especially after the Emperor's fall, the Chosen Ones completely ascended to the pinnacle of this world, and no force dared to oppose them. Song He finally felt safe, and her long-stretched nerves relaxed. After Nafeng lifted the Creator God's curse from Song He, the thought suddenly occurred to her. The world is so big, I want to see it. For the past decade or so, she had barely left South City. Now, with a lifespan of hundreds of years, a youthful body, and abundant energy, would she not take this opportunity to explore? Would she wait until she was old to do so? Song He's fellow Chosen One shared this sentiment. Many had left South City, traveling the world in groups of 3 or 5. Song He, drawn to the culture of the Halyu Empire, its people, environment, and cuisine, came here alone. Her journey around the world ended just as it began. 2 weeks ago, Song He's profile picture suddenly went dark while she was in Infinite City, meaning she was either dead or had entered a secret realm. The last message she said before her disappearance was to Wang Mumu, which read, The people here are very welcoming. I met 3 nice girls. If you come here, I'd like to introduce you to them. Less than half a day after sending this message, Song He's profile picture went dark. That night, Yi Piaoling and over 100 chosen ones arrived at Infinite City and conducted a thorough search of the surrounding area. The search lasted 3 days and 3 nights, but ultimately found nothing and had to return empty-handed. But Wang Mumu refused to give up. From Infinite City, as their center, she and Shen Pan continued their investigation of the surrounding cities, eventually finding 3 suspicious women in Nameless City. To avoid alerting the enemy, Shen Pan orchestrated various coincidences, allowing Wang Mumu to encounter the 3 women. He then staged a few scenes of the beauty rescuing the beauty, eventually becoming acquainted with them. During this time, the 3 women kept inviting Shen Pan and his partner to their homes. This clearly suggested ill intentions, and Shen Pan made various excuses to evade them. But continually refusing wasn't a solution. The other party was already suspicious. So, Shen Pan had an idea and tricked Su Ming into coming under the guise of introducing his girlfriend. Dangerous tasks should be handled by a burly man like Su Ming. As for Chung Yimou, he had simply come to join in the fun, but unexpectedly, he became the three women's primary target. After reading Su Zhen's message, combined with what he had seen tonight, Na Feng had a basic understanding of the whole situation. How dare you kill someone for my Nancheng? Nanfeng's face turned slightly cold. Although Na Feng didn't know Song He and had never spoken to her, this didn't stop him from being angry. There weren't many chosen ones in Nancheng to begin with, and each one was a treasure. How could an outsider just kill them? The murderer must be found and hacked into pieces. Otherwise, others would think the people of Nancheng were easy prey. Nanfeng's figure flashed, and he arrived at Infinite City at an extremely fast speed. The magic power within him surged slightly, slowly converging into his eyes. Looking backwards, the scene before Nanfeng's eyes was rapidly reversing, as if someone were rewinding the progress bar of a movie. Soon, he arrived at the day of Song He's death. He searched the city, and in a moment, he found the four women at the city gate. Three of them looked very familiar to Na Feng. They were the three badass women who had been drinking with Shen Pan and the others tonight. The remaining one, needless to say, was definitely Song He. Level 44. With just one glance, Na Feng saw through Song He's strength. That's not too weak. Even against a level 45 expert, she should have a chance to teleport away. At the very least, she could send a message. Could Song He have been killed instantly? The average level 45 expert isn't that powerful. It would have to be a top-tier level 45, or even a level 46 expert. If it was level 46. There aren't many level 46 experts in the world. Could it be Shadow of the Night? A strange expression crossed Nanfeng's face. At the city gate, Song He and the three women chatted and laughed as they walked out. Na Feng blinked his eyes, which were filled with soreness. He didn't know the exact location where Song He had been injured, so he was observing the entire past of Infinite City. Such a large-scale observation was extremely exhausting for Na Feng, and he almost collapsed after just half a minute. At the last moment of observing the past, Na Feng caught a glimpse of a familiar figure at a tea stall not far from the city gate. Swish. Nanfeng's eyes flashed back to the present, and tears streamed down his cheeks. Is it him? Na Feng casually wiped the blood from his face, standing there in thought. Just now, he had seen a dark-skinned athlete, the same one he had encountered during his time travel. The last time he met him was outside an unknown village. Na Feng remembered that there was a cellar in that village, where many bodies were piled. At the time, Na Feng suspected that the dark-skinned athlete was no good, and he was probably secretly involved in murder and robbery. Later, Na Feng experienced several more time travels, tormented by the passage of time, and gradually forgot about the incident. Now, at the time of Song He's death, Na Feng saw the dark-skinned athlete again, and he suspected that he was involved in this incident. Infinite City, Empty City, Nameless City. These three cities aren't that far away. The primitive world was so vast, yet the recent events seemed to be concentrated in this small area. This made Na Feng feel a little strange. Could it be that after all, the mastermind behind all this was the same person? Chapter 910. Year 19 of the Dragon Calendar, December 29th. In the early morning hours, three scantily clad women, their hips swung, arrived at the foot of Qifeng Mountain. They cautiously glanced around, seeing no one was following them, and then cautiously made their way up the mountain. Following a narrow path, through several patches of dense jungle, the three climbed halfway up the mountain, where they saw an unassuming cave entrance. They stood quietly outside the cave, waiting. A moment later, as if receiving some instruction, the three women entered the cave one after another and disappeared. About 200 meters from the cave entrance, Shen Pan crouched in the bushes and sneered. Is this your lair? It's quite secretive. Last night, after everyone finished drinking, Shen Pan did not return to his room to rest. He followed the three women alone, all the way to the foot of Qifeng Mountain, and found their lair. Acting alone like this is actually a very dangerous undertaking. Shen Pan had also found himself in danger several times by acting alone, even causing the deaths of many of his comrades. But he still decided to do this. It might have something to do with his personality, or perhaps it was just he didn't want Chung Yimou to take the risk. After all, it was his girlfriend who insisted on investigating Song He's death, and Chung Yimou and the others were merely helping. If Chung Yimou were put in danger because of this, he would feel bad. If the enemy could kill Song He at level 44, then they could probably kill Chung Yimou at level 45. When there's danger, brothers go first. He could say it, but Shen Pan couldn't actually do it. That would be too cruel. Now that we identified the lair of these three women, Shen Pan thought silently. There's no need to wait until tonight. Let's mobilize our forces and capture them all. Shinpan opened the control panel, only to discover there was no signal. I can't even send a single message. Shinpan's face darkened. Chi Fengyan is at the foot of the mountain, only a few kilometers away. If there's no signal here, then there's a good chance that Chi Fengyan has no signal either. If Chung Yamo had truly come alone to keep his appointment tonight, there's a real chance he had been caught dead. No wonder Song he died so quietly. She must have been tricked into this place, right? Shinpan closed the control panel and tiptoed down the mountain. When he'd been climbing the mountain earlier, he noticed the path was dotted with sentries. A careful count revealed 16 of them. These sentries were meticulously positioned, watching every path up the mountain. Even a fly flying up would be spotted. It was only because Shinpan's agility and speed were so good that he could reach the mountainside without alerting any of the sentries. He had originally planned to follow the 3 women into the cave to investigate. But he noticed 2 level 44 warriors, hunched over the cave entrance in the shadows on either side, staring intently at it, their eyes unblinking. Shinpan couldn't find a way to slip in, so he gave up. Swish, swish, swish. Like a ghost, Shinpan, after bypassing all the sentries through the visual barrier, finally made it down the mountain safely. Awesome. It's me again. Shinpan gave himself a thumbs up. I'm probably the only one in the world who can pull this off. Humph, even if the Southern God arrived, he couldn't possibly bypass all the sentries. As soon as he finished speaking, a mocking voice rang out from behind him. TSK, funny. The sudden sound startled Shinpan so much that the hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He drew his dagger and turned his head to strike. Swish! The dagger sliced through the air like lightning, its speed so rapid that it created a brief vacuum in the space. But to Shinpan's surprise, there was nothing behind him, no one at all. Where had that sound come from? Shinpan frowned intently and shouted coldly, "Who is it? Come out!" It was quiet all around, with only the occasional bird call. Shinpan said again, "Humph, I seen you. Come out now." A crow flew by. I dread the sudden stillness of the air. No one paid any attention to Shinpan, which made him feel like a fool, battling wits with the air. Since you won't come out, then I... Swoosh! Shinpan vanished into a shadow, disappearing several kilometers away in the blink of an eye. He didn't dare pause, running back to the Longmen Inn in Nameless City. Inside the inn, Su Ming and the others were having breakfast. "Shinpan, where have you been so early this morning?" Su Ming asked vaguely, a large meat bun dangling from his lips. "I called you for breakfast, but no one answered." "Huh?" Shinpan exhaled and said gravely, "Brothers, I seen a ghost." Su Ming, Wu Yuansheng, and Chung Yamo all turned their heads and stared at Shinpan. "What's wrong with seeing a ghost? You're going to kill him! You're such a grown man, and you're still afraid of ghosts?" Wu Yuansheng asked in confusion. Hearing Wu Yuansheng's words, Shinpan's face flushed slightly. "Yeah, I'm already level 45, and I'm still afraid of a ghost. Damn, that's embarrassing. Encountering a ghost was just a minor incident on my journey. What I really want to say is, I found the lair of those 3 women." Shinpan changed the subject. "You followed them?" Su Ming spat out the bun in his mouth, his face serious. "You kid, are you going off to get yourself killed again?" Shinpan quickly waved his hand and said with a laugh, "Don't worry, buddy. Things are different now. I'm very fast now, and no matter what I do, I won't die." "Humph, that's for the best, so you don't get us into trouble again." Su Ming snorted angrily. Shinpan's smile faded instantly upon hearing this, and he fell silent. Sensing that the atmosphere was a little off, Chung Yamo picked up the plate on the table and laughed, "Ha ha, guess how many buns I can eat in one bite." With that, he stuffed the entire plate of meat buns into his mouth, his cheeks puffed up like a hamster. "Awesome." Wu Yuansheng clapped his hands in applause. He observed Su Ming and Shinpan from the corner of his eye. Seeing their expressions soften slightly, he spoke up. "Since Shinpan has already found their lair, what are we waiting for? Get some people over there and kill them." In the handsome guys group, everyone who got the news expressed their willingness to come and help. Yun Fei, "Those who dared to kill our Nanchung people must pay with blood." Huang Yuanming, "Oh, I love to go too. But I have to stay here and secretly protect Long Yuan." "You ran. You call that secretly?" Su Zuran, "According to Shinpan's description, the enemy's strength is not weak. There are at least level 45 experts in charge. At Nafeng, at Shaoluo, would you like one of you to come over? It's safer." "Nafeng, I'm here, go ahead." Wu Yuansheng, "Nanshin, are you done with your retreat?" "Nafeng, not yet. I'm tired and just wanted to go out for a walk. Shinpan saw Nanfeng bubbling and suddenly remembered something. He quickly sent a message. Shinpan, Nanshin, I saw a ghost today. Nanfeng, Shinpan, that ghost even imitated your voice. Damn, that was scary. Nanfeng, Chapter 911. The so-called ghost Shinpan was referring to was Nanfeng. From Infinite City, he watched the past and witnessed the events leading up to Song He's death. Following the trajectory of Song He's life, Nanfeng journeyed forward, eventually arriving at the foot of Qifeng Mountain. Just then, Shinpan sneaked down the mountain, muttering to himself, even if the southern god arrived, he couldn't possibly circumvent all the sentries. Hearing this, Nanfeng lost his composure and retorted, "TSK, that's hilarious." Nanfeng had originally intended to ask Shinpan what was up there on the mountain. Who would have thought that Shinpan would be so startled? Before he could even reveal himself, Shinpan had already fled back to Nameless City. You run pretty fast, huh? Nanfeng observed Shinpan's back, smiling and shaking his head. He didn't rush back up the mountain, because in the past he had witnessed Song he hadn't gone up either, but had instead headed for the Qifeng Inn at the foot of the mountain. Let's go to Qifeng Inn first. Nanfeng strolled along the narrow path toward the inn. Qifeng Inn resembled a service area on a highway. It was in the middle of nowhere, with no village or shop nearby. The nearest gathering place was Nameless City, 20 kilometers away. Most of the guests staying here were caravans. It was early morning, and guests from the previous night were gradually getting up, dressing, and preparing for the new day. Nanfeng stood at the inn's doorway, looking up at the slightly shabby structure. He saw nothing unusual. It looks normal on the outside, but I wonder what's going on inside. Magical power converged in Nanfeng's eyes, and a faint stream appeared in his vision. That stream was like a miniature version of the long river of time. The scene he saw was no longer a scene from a single moment in the past, but a long worm. A flash of enlightenment arose in Nanfeng's heart. Time is becoming increasingly useful to me. Now, Nanfeng could not only see the past of a certain place, but also the past of a certain person. For example, the long worm before him wasn't truly a single worm, but rather a composition of countless Songhees. Nanfeng's eyes could see Songhe at every point in time. Songhe from the previous second, Songhe from the next second, Songhe from the second before that, Songhe from the second after that. These Songhees, layered together, formed a single long worm. To put it more scientifically, Nanfeng's eyes now possess some of the properties of the fourth dimension. If things continue like this, sooner or later, Nanfeng will become a four-dimensional being. Beep beep. The tactical watch made a sound that only Nanfeng could hear. It was Su Zurin from the Handsome Guys group at ING him. Nanfeng glanced at the chat messages in the group. The general message was that they needed an expert to come to Qifeng Mountain to maintain order. Either Nanfeng or Xiao Luo would do. Nanfeng figured that since he was already here, there was no need to bother Xiao Luo with the trip, so he replied, "I'm here. Go ahead and do it." A moment later, Shinpan sent a message, "Nanshin, I saw a ghost today." Nanfeng's mouth twitched slightly. "Shinpan, that ghost even imitated your voice." "Damn, that's terrifying." Nanfeng's mouth twitched wildly. "Nervous. It's common knowledge that people laugh when they're speechless." Nanfeng smiled briefly, then turned off the panel. "Hey, wait a minute." Nanfeng suddenly thought. "This inn has a radio? Then how did Songhe die?" He turned his gaze to the long worm in front of him, following it as it walked forward, watching. He saw Songhe enter the inn, saw Songhe walk into the guest room, saw Songhe undress, saw Songhe wash. Wait, I haven't subscribed yet, so I skipped this part. Songhe stayed in the room for a while. At some point, she seemed to hear something and suddenly rushed out. She reached the backyard of the inn and yelled. Nanfeng could tell from her mouthing that Songhe was shouting, "Let go of that girl." Then, Songhe chased something all the way to the lake outside the inn and dove in. Nanfeng had a rough idea of the plot. Someone kidnapped those three women, and Songhe wanted to rescue them. However, the truth is, those three women were in cahoots with the kidnappers, and Songhe was set up by them. Songhe was tricked into the lake, and ultimately met her in there. The plot made sense. The only thing that seemed off was that Songhe was, after all, a level 44 warrior. Even if attacked by surprise, she could probably resist at least. But there were no signs of a struggle around the lake. "We have to get in the water and take a look." Before jumping in, Nanfeng instinctively checked the control panel. As expected, there was no signal here. He glanced back at the Qifeng Inn behind him. The distance between the inn and the lake was less than 100 meters. This really is a great place. Nafong sighed. He floated lightly into the water, creating no ripples. The lake was much deeper than Nafong had imagined. He followed Song He's life path and swam all the way to the bottom, discovering a narrow underwater passage. After passing through the passage, Nafong swam a few hundred meters further until he finally saw a glimmer of light. I reached the end. Nafong floated lightly to the surface and looked around. This was an underground cave, lit by a dozen torches of various sizes. 4 powerful warriors, around level 40, were guarding it. These 4 men were naturally too weak to detect Nafong. Nafong floated over to them, and found the 4 of them enthusiastically playing mahjong. The chosen ones? No, that's not right. They're just natives who learned to play mahjong. Nafong ignored them, and turned to gaze at the water behind him. Song He's life had stopped there. From her condition before death, it was clear she endured a battle here, one in which she was completely defenseless. Was the attacker level 45 or 46? Magic power surged into Nafeng's eyes again. This time, he wasn't looking into a person's past, but into a place's past. He wanted to see who had murdered Song He. The scene before Nafeng's eyes began to shift, and time flowed backwards, returning to the moment Song He emerged from the water. The moment she emerged, Song He saw people standing all around her, and immediately realized she'd fallen for a trap. Despicable. Song He cursed, attempting to jump back into the water and retrace her steps. But a terrifying pressure came over her, pinning her to the ground, rendering her unable to move. Seeing this, Nafeng's eyes flashed. He was all too familiar with this move, having suffered it himself numerous times. The Imperial Hard Gravitational Formation? Huh? Things are getting interesting again. Chapter 912. The natives of the primitive world were not adept at formations. This was because the innate divine weapon was simply too powerful. Curses, sorcery, and formations were no match for the innate divine weapon. Rather than delving into unorthodox methods, it was better to focus on honing one's innate divine weapon. Tens of thousands of years ago, someone developed a city defense formation, claiming it could defend against attacks from ferocious beasts. This piqued the interest of many. However, after testing, they discovered that the defensive power of this city defense formation was mediocre. It was incapable of protecting the city at all. Any ferocious beast with even a modicum of strength could shatter it with a single blow. Over time, the city defense formation gradually faded into obscurity. It wasn't until the emergence of Emperor Xian that the concept of formations re-entered the public consciousness. Emperor Xian was well-read and experienced. In just 2.5 days, he reconstructed the core of the city defense formation, increasing its defensive capabilities dozens of times. Over the next 3 months, Emperor Xian devoted himself to studying the formation, refining the city defense formation over 10 times. Not only did he enhance its defensive capabilities, he also added a gravity system, giving it a certain offensive capability. This was the first generation of the Emperor Hard Gravity Formation. After Emperor Xian ascended the throne as the 299th Emperor, he publicly announced the deployment method of the Emperor Hard Gravity Formation, making it available to all for free. All cities could deploy this formation to defend against ferocious beasts, even those in the Haoyu Empire and the Wadika Empire. At the time, some ministers of the Falling Sun Empire secretly complained that the Emperor should not share this formation with other nations for free. The Emperor simply sneered at this. In the eyes of others, the Emperor's hard gravity array was incomparably powerful, but to the Emperor, it was still just a minor skill. Emperor, he looked down upon it. In the underground cave beneath Qingfeng Mountain, Nafeng looked at the Emperor's hard gravity array before him, a flicker of interest rising in his heart. It was obvious that this formation wasn't created by the Emperor. Otherwise, the moment it activated, Song He would have been crushed into a bloody mist by the terrifying gravity. But the Emperor's hard gravity array here was also powerful. After all, it could instantly pin down Song He, a level 44 cultivator. Constructing such a powerful formation would have required an extraordinary amount of manpower and resources. Spending so much money to build a formation in such a secluded place shouldn't be just to trap and kill Song He, right? Nafeng had a vague guess, but he wasn't completely certain. Let's look further down. Nanfeng's eyes continued to reflect the past. Song He was pinned to the ground, unable to move, even speaking with great difficulty. At the edge of the formation stood a dozen or so people, watching Song He and laughing heartily. Some of them even had lustful glints in their eyes. Nanfeng's gaze slowly shifted, taking in the faces of all 10 or so people. None of them could escape. "Ha, Song He." At that moment, a slightly feminine voice rang out. The crowd of onlookers made way. Then, a dark-skinned athlete, holding a folding fan, slowly stepped out and reached the edge of the formation. It's him, after all, Nafeng sneered. Nafeng had previously caught a glimpse of this dark-skinned athlete while looking into the past in Infinite City. At the time, Nafeng had suspected that Song He's death was likely related to him, and now it seemed his guess was correct. In the past scene, the dark-skinned athlete spread out his folding fan, fanning himself with air while chuckling. Song He, do you know? I killed over 26 chosen ones here, and you're the easiest one to trick. I didn't even have to use my tricks, and you came here obediently. Song He glared at the dark-skinned athlete with a fierce look. Huh? Why aren't you saying anything? The dark-skinned athlete chuckled. If you beg for mercy, I might spare your life. Song He struggled to speak, but the terrifying gravity around her made it impossible. Oh, so you can't speak, the dark-skinned gym student said pretentiously. Come on, reduce the gravity a little so she can say a few words and cheer everyone up. Soon, Song He felt the pressure on her body ease a little. She tried to stand up, but couldn't. She was still unable to move. But the only difference from before was that she could speak now. The dark-skinned gym student squatted down and stared at Song He with a teasing look. Come on, say something to cheer me up. Song He looked at him and sneered, you sissy. The dark-skinned gym student's face instantly turned cold. Since he was a child, he hated being called a sissy. Isn't his voice just a little feminine? What's wrong with that? To shed that nickname, he started working out at a young age, eventually building a muscular physique and a tan. He had thought this would change others' minds, but he hadn't expected. Song He, whom he had only met once, had so accurately and precisely called him by his most hated nickname. You think you're so powerful, huh? The dark-skinned gym student sneered grimly. I've seen many people as stubborn as you. But without exception, they all ended up on their knees, begging me for mercy. Song He looked at him coldly, his expression tinged with disdain. The dark-skinned gym student stood up, and a flash of light appeared in his hand, revealing a barbed iron whip. Snap! The iron whip pierced through the air with a sharp sound, lashing out heavily on Song He's back. The barbs on the whip dug into Song He's body, drawing blood and flesh. Ugh! Song He groaned, digging his nails into the dirt in pain. Snap! 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 The dark-skinned gym student whipped Song He down with a whip, striking him dozens of times, leaving his back ripped and bloody. Song He gritted her teeth, not even uttering a scream. That's it? Seeing the dark-skinned athlete stop, Song He raised her head slightly, looking at him with disdain. The dark-skinned athlete smiled sinisterly. Don't worry, we only just begun. Someone, bring me my treasure. The people around her began to jeer. Soon, a burly man approached, carrying a large wooden barrel. Everyone covered their mouths and noses. Song He frowned. She, too, could smell a foul odor. Hee, the dark-skinned athlete chuckled. Song He, guess what this is? Song He frowned, silent. The dark-skinned gym student muttered to himself, the conditions in this cave are harsh. There's no sewer. The brothers' excrement can only be stored in these buckets. Song He, tell me, if this bucket of shit and piss was dumped on your ripped back, would you still be as calm as you are now? Song He trembled slightly. Faced with such a stinking filth, she was truly terrified. Chapter 913. The dark-skinned athlete didn't give Song He a chance to beg for mercy. With a single move, he dumped the entire bucket of feces onto her back. No! Song He screamed. She could endure the physical pain, but not this kind of mental humiliation. Scared? The dark-skinned athlete sneered. You still dare to be stubborn? Come on, bring me 10 more buckets of that treasure. The dark-skinned athlete was a psychopath. Killing Song He alone wouldn't satisfy him. He was determined to torture her to death. Splash, splash. Bucket after bucket of filth was poured onto Song He. Even across time and space, Nafeng could almost smell the intense stench. Ha ha ha. Inside the cave, a dozen or so burly men laughed maniacally, like a group of lunatics. Song He's face was covered in tears, and her teeth were clenched tightly. She didn't give up hope. Enduring both mental and physical torture, she sought a way to save herself. Bearing the terrifying weight of gravity, she finally opened the system panel, attempting to send a distress signal. But at that moment, she lost hope. Seeing Song He's numb eyes, the dark-skinned athlete guessed something and burst into laughter. Did you notice there's no signal here? Ha! If you ask me, you're all idiots. The Creator God's system is a gift from the gods, yet you're trying to crack it by believing Nonfin's lies. If your system were intact, how could I dare attack you? But having said that, I really do have to thank Nafeng. If he hadn't cracked the systems of most of the Chosen, how could I have broken through my lifeblood weapon to S rank in just 2 weeks? In the past, if the dark-skinned athlete wanted to trap and kill a Chosen, he would have spent considerable time planning, aiming for a single strike. He couldn't afford the opponent even a moment's reaction time. If the opponent teleported away or sent a message to the outside world, the dark-skinned athlete would be exposed. But after September 19th, year 19 of the Dragon Calendar, this situation changed. Nanfeng had cracked the systems of many Chosen, rendering them emasculated. The dark-skinned athlete only needed to find a dead end and confidently kill the Chosen without any worries. He could even slowly torture them to death, satisfying his own perverse taste. In just 3 months, the dark-skinned athlete had killed over 20 Chosen, more than he had in years before. Gradually, he was no longer content with trapping and killing ordinary Chosen, but instead set his sights on the Chosen in major cities, like Nancheng, Longcheng, and Xuancheng. These Chosen ones are even more powerful, and their innate divine weapons are of a higher grade. Killing them would allow the dark-skinned athlete to gain more experience, and even upgrade their own divine weapons. Just then, Song He appeared alone in the Haoyue Empire. She naturally became the dark-skinned athlete's primary target. In fact, by this point, Nanfeng had already fully understood the entire process and outcome of the incident. The next scene showed Song He being subjected to inhuman torture, and Nanfeng had no mood to watch any further. He sped up time, playing at 10 times the speed, fast-forwarding to the final moments before Song He's death. Song He was now unrecognizable, utterly miserable. Nanfeng couldn't even find words to describe her plight. The dark-skinned athlete had tortured her enough. He slowly crouched down and spoke in a feminine voice. "So, do you have any last words you want me to convey?" Song He tried to open her eyes, but the filth clouded her vision, preventing her from seeing the face of the murderer before her. The dark-skinned athlete continued, "How about this? You shout everyone in South City is trash 3 times, and I kill you quickly. How about that?" "Huh?" Song He said coldly with a sarcastic smile. "You sissy, dream on. Okay, you got guts." The dark-skinned athlete applauded. He stood up and whipped out his iron whip again. "It seems you don't want to die so easily. Then I have to torture you one more time. Ha ha ha." Click. Time paused. Nanfeng's eyes flashed with rage, and the magic within him surged wildly. He tried to get Song He away from here, but ultimately time and space separated them. Nanfeng's hand could not reach the past, nor could it change it. After a long time, Nanfeng gave up. He turned and stared intently at the dark-skinned athlete. The dark-skinned athlete was also the chosen one, but he had not sought Nanfeng's help to remove the curse, so his lifespan was reduced to 80 years. In a voice only audible to himself, Nanfeng whispered, "I will make your remaining 80 years a wonderful one." Song He was dead. The dark-skinned athlete had absorbed her experience, and even her innate divine weapon. Stronger again. The dark-skinned athlete raised his head and took a deep breath, his face crazed, like a drug addict. His subordinates were all congratulating him. One of them asked, "Your Majesty, when will your innate divine weapon break through to SS rank?" The dark-skinned athlete calmly shook his head. "I don't know." He was used to being a tyrant here, like a local emperor. Perhaps, in his heart, he imagined that one day he would slay all the chosen ones, annex all forces under heaven, and become an emperor who would sweep across the lands. Nanfeng overheard their conversation and found it hilarious. "You still want to be emperor, you fool?" The scene from the past vanished, and Nanfeng returned to the present. The 4 men were still playing mahjong, completely unaware that Nanfeng had been standing over them for quite some time. "You are murderers too." Nanfeng channeled a wisp of his divine consciousness and attached it to them. Killing them like this would be too easy for them. Nanfeng wanted to have some fun with them. He didn't rush to attack them, but slowly drifted into the cave. The cave wasn't deep. After floating forward for a distance, Nanfeng noticed that it sloped vertically upward, reaching halfway up the mountain. He quickly ascended and discovered a larger cave halfway up the mountain. Tunnels stretched in all directions, each leading to unknown depths. Nanfeng released his divine sense and scanned the cave's layout, his mind clearly comprehensible. At the same time, he also located the dark-skinned athlete. He was in a chamber slightly to the left of the center of the cave, which should be his room. In his room, there were 3 curvaceous women, the same women who had been drinking with Shinpan and his friends last night. They were engaged in some kind of primitive exercise, quite intensely. Nanfeng sneered and drifted away slowly, like a ghost. Chapter 914. This was a magnificent cave. At the entrance stood 2 3-meter-tall stone lions, their faces ferocious and majestic. Nefong floated between the two lions and entered the cave. The ground beneath his feet was covered with smooth, flawless jade, and the surrounding walls were inlaid with gray spheres of light that shone like stars. Nefong was stunned for a moment, then took a closer look. These gray spheres of light were actually innate divine weapons. 5, 10, 15. Nefong counted and discovered that there were hundreds of innate divine weapons inlaid on the walls. Most of these innate divine weapons were between C and B rank, likely obtained by the black-skinned sportsman from killing the natives. With so many innate divine weapons, he could form an army of his own. No wonder there are so many natives in this cave. Nefong thought to himself. Perhaps these innate divine weapons were one of the reasons why the natives were so willing to follow the black-skinned sportsman. The cavern was large. Nefong slowly drifted in and saw a dark-skinned athlete sitting by the bed, smoking a cigarette, and 3 women already dressed. Huh? The dark-skinned athlete exhaled a smoke ring. As the saying goes, a cigarette afterward is better than a living god. He was truly feeling quite comfortable now. It was over so quickly. Nefong was a little surprised. It couldn't have taken him that long to float over here, right? How come he's already dressed? Is it really that unbearable to look at? Your Majesty. The woman in yellow said delicately, you're truly amazing. The dark-skinned athlete subconsciously popped out his chest and let out a feminine laugh. Hee. The woman in green came over, hugged the dark-skinned athlete from behind, and whispered in his ear, Your Majesty, we have good news for you. The dark-skinned athlete raised an eyebrow and asked, Oh? My beloved, what good news? The woman in red looked smug as she spoke in a coquettish voice. Your Majesty, just last night, the 3 of us sisters caught another big fish. The dark-skinned athlete, who had been smiling, suddenly frowned. Didn't I tell you not to take any action for a while? Your Majesty. Don't worry, we sisters know what's going on, the woman in yellow said playfully. We specialize in catching stupid and lustful fish. This fish is both stupid and lustful, so there won't be any problems. The woman in red added, and he has many chosen one friends. We can catch them one by one, and help your Majesty break through level 46. The dark-skinned athlete felt something was amiss as he listened. He keenly realized that these 3 stupid women might have been set up as a sting operation. Where's Dahai? Dahai, come here. The dark-skinned athlete suddenly shouted. His voice instantly echoed throughout the cave. Even the 2 level 44 warriors guarding the entrance heard it clearly. The 2 exchanged glances and shook their heads. One of them telegraphed to the dark-skinned athlete, Your Majesty, Dahai left the palace 3 days ago and has not returned. The dark-skinned athlete's face darkened. He grabbed the woman in red by the collar and said coldly, I asked Dahai to secretly protect you. Why are you back? But he hasn't. The woman in red saw the dark-skinned athlete's ferocious expression and said, Your Majesty, I don't know. Hearing this, Nefong had already guessed that Dahai was the homeless man he had knocked unconscious. That dark-skinned athlete wouldn't be able to wait for Dahai's return. Because nothing single strike was enough to send Dahai to sleep for 100 years. 3 idiots, the dark-skinned athlete said coldly. You're being targeted, do you know? A flicker of hesitation crossed the 3 women's faces. No way, Your Majesty. We've been very careful to sound them out. They're just a group of chosen ones, who haven't joined any organization, the green-clad woman said. Don't worry, Your Majesty. There be no problem. No shit. The dark-skinned athlete cursed. What are the names of those chosen ones? The yellow-clad woman quickly spoke up. The first one we met was a woman named Wang Yao Zhao. She had a boyfriend named Shen Huyuan. Later, they brought in a group of friends, Wu Kamahiai, Su Gongtaimai, and someone named Chung. Chung Depeo. Wu Kamahiai. Su Gongtaimai? Chung Depeo? The dark-skinned athlete's face twisted in anger. Are those names decent people? They're obviously made up. The 3 women looked at each other, confused as to why the dark-skinned athlete would say that. How could these names be made up? Chung Depeo, what a serious name. Shen Huyuan, Wu Kamahiai, Su Gongtaimai. The dark-skinned athlete took a deep breath and muttered to himself, Shen Wu Su. Shen Pan, Wu Yuancheng Su Ming. How could this dark-skinned athlete not know these high-ranking figures in South City? A sense of crisis suddenly washed over him. The people in South City were almost finding him. Shit! Thinking of this, the dark-skinned athlete cursed and jumped off the bed. Your Majesty, what's wrong with you? The woman in red asked in panic. It was the first time she had seen the dark-skinned athlete so excited. What's wrong? You're going to kill me today. The dark-skinned athlete glanced at the 3 women, his eyes flashing with coldness, causing them to tremble slightly. After a moment, The dark-skinned athlete regained his composure and whispered, "Tell me every detail of your encounter. I want every detail, not a single one left out." The three women didn't dare to neglect their conversation. One after another, they told the dark-skinned athlete everything that had happened. "So you just arranged to meet him at the Qifeng Inn tonight, and you haven't revealed anything else?" The dark-skinned athlete asked gravely. "Yes, Your Majesty," the woman in red said in a coquettish voice. "How about this? The three of us will go to our appointment tonight as usual, but we won't do anything. They won't find any evidence, and naturally, they can't do anything to us." The woman in yellow echoed, "Yes, yes. As long as they can't find us here, Your Majesty will be safe." The woman in green also spoke quickly, "That's right. At worst, we can just play games with that Chung guy all night. What can he do to us sisters?" The dark-skinned athlete pondered for a moment, then nodded slightly. "You are right, my three beloved concubines. You must go to your appointment tonight. Otherwise, I will be uneasy." Just as the three women were about to speak, a series of clicking sounds rang out. The dark-skinned athlete actually broke the three women's necks. "I cannot rest until my three beloved concubines are dead." The dark-skinned athlete threw the three women to the ground and sent a message to the outside world. "Come, get a room at the Qifeng Inn and throw them inside. Wang Ho, Jiangxiang, immediately seal all entrances to the palace. From today on, no one is allowed to enter or leave the palace until the crisis is over." With the dark-skinned athlete's orders, the dozens of people in the cave immediately sprang into action. The entrance to the cave halfway up the mountain was sealed, as were three hidden passages at the foot of the mountain, including the underground passage connecting to the lake. In less than 10 minutes, the cave was completely cut off from the outside world. Only then did the dark-skinned athlete feel a little relieved. This way, the entire Qifeng mountain will become a bunker. I'd be hiding inside, and who can find me? But his newly relieved heart quickly rose to his throat again, because he heard a deep and eerie voice, like a ghost, ringing in his ears. "Hey, dead sissy.